It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories are watching this Monday, March 2. March na! The House Committee on Justice has declared the third and fourth impeachment complaints against VP Sara Duterte sufficient in form. These move to the next stage of scrutiny, which is sufficiency in substance. Prior to this, the panel approved a motion to set aside the first impeachment complaint against Duterte, citing a violation of the one-year prohibition period. That complaint was lodged by the Makabayan Bloc. As for the second ouster document filed by civil society groups led by Tindig Pilipinas, that has been withdrawn, with complainants saying that they will instead support the third impeachment complaint.
Malacanang says President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is closely monitoring developments in the Middle East amid the ongoing conflict there. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the president has directed the DFA, the DMW, and other agencies to intensify monitoring and provide full assistance to affected Filipinos. The government also said it is prepared for possible repatriation efforts once the Middle East airspace reopens.
A prolonged Middle East conflict could take its toll on fuel prices and the local currency. Airstrikes could disrupt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a key route for a fifth of global oil supply. The Energy Department is now monitoring inventories and meeting oil firms to cushion the tension's impact. Meantime, the peso is expected to weaken this week, again due to the Middle East situation. Traders see it ranging from 57.40 to 57.85 based on inflation and interest rates this week. The local currency closed at 57.665 to the US dollar last Friday.
The Department of Justice prosecutors have subpoenaed several Villar Land Holdings Corporation executives, including its chair, Manuel Villar, former Senator Cynthia Villar, Director Manuel Paulo Villar, and incumbent lawmakers Mark Villar and Camille Villar. That is over a criminal complaint filed by the Securities and Exchange Commission against the company and executives. The SEC alleged that the firm engaged in market manipulation, insider trading, and misleading disclosures. And Senator Raffy Tulfo has said he will seek re-election in the 2028 elections and will not run for higher office. The senator said some groups have been urging him to run for president, but he has flatly declined their offer. Earlier, his brother, Senator Erwin Tulfo, also said he will not be seeking higher posts in the next national elections.
ML Party List Congresswoman Lila de Lima poked some fun and sarcasm at allegations of her being on the take. 18 former soldiers and their lawyer, Levito Baligod, earlier accused her of getting a suitcase, then modified to a paper bag, and then an envelope full of money from resigned Congressman Zaldico. So the lawmaker posted this image on Facebook on Monday. Parang mas bagay siya kung yung music, kung yung scoring mas funny.
Hindi yung ominous.
Hindi yung ominous. Masyadong seryoso yung music.
It's tongue-in-cheek.
It's supposed to be sarcasm. I mean, it's supposed to be sarcastic. Mas bagay yung funny, yung medyo funny. Di ba? Anong tingin mo? Aming kumintuhan from the Philippine Star. What do you think?
Hi. Happy Monday, everyone. Dapat K-pop. Para
Iba
mas
naman
maraming mas maraming manonood.
Iba naman ang K-pop. Hindi mo nga maintindihan yung K-pop.
Mas catchy. Para mas catchy. Hindi, ito lang naman nun. Music lang yun. Music lang yun eh.
Sige, nakiki-K-pop na rin to si Ami. Okay.
Kayo talaga.
Para mas maraming manood.
But I thought it was pretty funny. Teka lang, but I said,
What?
di ba sabi ni Attorney Baligot, it was a brown paper envelope? So they got the details wrong, si Attorney...
Hindi ko naman, paghahanapin mo ba siya ng...
Congresswoman de Lima.
It's sarcasm na nga, paghahanapin mo ng detalye.
Oo nga,
para
gulo na nga.
fit talaga sa details.
Oh.
Okay.
Ano
There
malaking
is,
story, Ami? Maliban doon sa nagkakagera sa Middle East, ano malaking story niyo?
Oo nga, hindi, yun po yung inaabangan namin, may emergency meeting ngayon yung Department of Energy eh.
Correct.
Oh.
So,
Saka ang dami-daming mga ano yan, sabi ng ano ito, DepEd. Baka daw yung ibang mga OFW natin na gustong umuwi dahil ang gulo-gulo, baka daw tumagal, baka daw gusto nila magturo dito sa mga schools. Kulang na kulang tayo ng mga ano, ng mga ano at Malacanang of course and DMW. Sinabi na nila na we are preparing, we might have to evacuate although hindi ko alam ano. Sabi sa amin ni Dave Gomez, he came here as a star.
Oh.
Ang hinahandaw nilang evacuation by land.
Oo nga,
kasi hirap di ba? Hirap yan eh.
But coming from where?
Cancelled yung mga ang daming stranded sa airport dahil lahat ng flights to the Middle East canceled.
but it's not clear at this point which countries they will be first evacuating from if it comes to that. Because this is an escalating war, clearly. Just this, about an hour ago, there was, well, not an hour ago, but this morning, they also struck Lebanon, and which is on the further east side. So, west side. So this is a widening Middle East conflict, to say the least.
Matagal nang inaaway ng Israel.
Yeah,
Tapos
of course, the Hezbollah there.
naghahanda na rin ng fuel subsidy ang Department of Transportation. Tapos ang PCI nag-issue din ng statement na sabi the government should ensure the stable supply of goods. At bawal daw magtaas ng presyo wala daw dahilan para magtaas ng presyo ng agricultural commodities. Yan naman ang sabi sa agriculture. Yan yung mga paghahanda ngayon. Kasi medyo di nga natin alam eh. Although kapag nag-take over dyan yung bagong regime, baka naman ma-lift yung mga sanction at babagsak din yung presyo ng langis, But we don't know when that's gonna happen or if it's gonna happen.
It doesn't sound like there will be a regime change as per originally planned, because the ABC News chief White House correspondent managed to speak to President Trump himself. And his name is Jonathan Karl. You can find him on Twitter. And apparently, Trump told him that the operations were so successful that the people that they had thought would take over were also killed in the military strike. So number 2 and number 3 were also killed. So at this point, it's not clear who they're going to be instating. Although, of course, in his video message, Trump said he called on the people of Iran to rise up and take back the government.
Well, it's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
Not unless you stick in somebody who's been living in Paris for the longest time, the Reza family.
Yung the son of the Shah. The Shah.
Medyo
Kaya
detached
within the country, ewan natin, marami namang mga dyan active din yung civil society dyan na libo-libo yung napatay sa kanila. Siguro naman merong mga sympathizer. And they were killed within weeks lang. Diba?
The problem when you have a decapitation strike is...
mga grupo dyan na And ang taas-taas ng level of education dyan. Kaya I'm sure merong capacity naman to run the government.
The problem when you have a decapitation strike
is you might decapitate too much.
That's what they're realizing when they took out the second and third. Apparently, the
if
people
you're looking for moderates to take over, and even the moderates get wiped out, there's always a danger of some sort of anarchy. It's like what happened in Iraq.
Because in the original strike on Tehran, up to 40 Iranian officers were killed, apart from the supreme leader, Khamenei. And that's when the Iran, almost immediately struck back. The other thing about this is, of course, this was not a sanctioned by the U.S. Congress, which apparently has sole authority to approve military strikes. This was upon the orders of President Trump himself. So There is also that question mark. Although, and there was a Reuters Ipsos poll that was conducted shortly after the U.S. and Israel struck Tehran, which is that, and found that only about 1/4 of people surveyed supported this war because, of course, President Trump campaigned on a promise of ending all wars. He called himself a peacemaker. And here we are, 1 year into his term, and they have already struck 8 countries. They have bombed at least 8 countries in the 1 year that he's been back.
Pero ano kaya magagawa ng US Congress dyan? No return, no exchange yung bombing na yan What can they do? Ma-oust ba nila? Ma-impeach ba nila si Trump over that?
No, I don't think they do. I don't think they do that.
It's still a Republican-controlled Congress.
And also, kasi I don't know how much power the U.S. president has in undertaking military operations. I know they need to get congressional approval for them to go to war. Pero
But
yung
this
mga
time,
strikes are
yung sinasabi nila
done
surgical
by
strike
many presidents with and without Congress's approval.
Sasabihin ni Trump, hindi naman yan war
But it has created war. This is all-out war. In fact, it's a widening war, and we don't know at this point what it's going to look like now that Iran has said there will be no more negotiations and they will fight to the end about this. And the U.S. as well has already said they're also not negotiating. There's no more talks, and they're willing to see also President Trump by the same interview with the ABC News chief correspondent said they are willing to, see this through for however long it takes. So how this war exactly will end, we don't know at this point. But suffice to say, it is a very dangerous war that has far-reaching implications, chief of which is yung oil prices nga. Nearly 100% of the crude oil imports that the Philippines buys is from the Middle East. I looked it up. It's 98.93%. 98.93, tama.
Yeah, I remember kasi before we were toying with the idea of starting to buy oil from Russia.
Exactly. Exactly. Just as a way to diversify, to hedge our supply, right? Pero mukhang hindi natuloy. Because, let me look up the
Kasi Russia is one of the bigger producers of oil. In fact, I think they produce more oil than
But that was before the invasion of Ukraine. In fact, at that time, nag-o-offer sa atin ng Russia ng pati yung Kalashnikov nila, they were offering our armed forces.
Yeah, but you'll have to redo everything. The supply chain, the ammunition,
at that time.
the training. You have to do a complete overhaul of the
yan yung
armed
before
forces
Ukraine
thinking.
invasion.
So medyo madugo
So
yun.
the exact figure is 98.93% of our raw crude oil imports are from the Middle East. The biggest source is Saudi Arabia. Then you've got UAE. Then you've got Iraq, Kuwait, and Oman. And the only country that's not in the Middle East is Brunei, wherein we source about 1% of crude oil imports. From the on the side of the finished petroleum products naman, we buy those mostly from Asia, which, as we all know, is highly susceptible to global market sentiment. So even now, gumagalaw na yung oil markets out of fear.
Kaya nagutos si Isko Moreno doon sa City Hall. Bawasan daw yung paggamit ng kuryente sa mga gasolina. Yan, austerity.
Austerity mode.
Titingnan natin.
For those who
Saka nagmamahal na
For those who are the younger generation, they don't remember that Iran used to be a client state of the U.S.
Yes.
For the longest time, the Americans armed the Shah, the Shah's forces.
Kaso bumagsak.
In 1979. Iran was the only country to which the U.S. sold F-14 Tomcats. The only country. That's why you saw Tomcats in the movie Maverick. Yung mga lumang Tomcats, and that's supposed to be Iran.
Fast forward to
nawala yung nila.
Fast forward to 2026, and Iran shot down F-16 fighter jets from the U.S. Which went down over in the Kuwait airspace.
So you have
Tingnan natin.
you have a lot of
Kasi-
history. Actually, it goes way back. Yeah. I don't know how Hitler would have felt about it, but the name Iran actually is a Middle Persian word for Aryan.
Yeah, Aryan. The Aryan
Aryan.
race.
They're the real Aryan race.
They are the real Aryan race. Yan, sila. Sila yan.
so, well, anyway, a little bit of trivia there.
A lot of history there for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of things that happened to get us to this point. But nevertheless, here we are, and its implications, as we keep saying, are very far-reaching. Okay, let me...
And no, Iraq came from the word Uruk, the city of Uruk.
Uruk,
Yeah.
which
Uruk.
means...
It's a city, its name. An
so
ancient city in Mesopotamia, Uruk. U-R-U-K. Anyway, sorry. Let's move on to a live report coming from the House of Representatives. So, kami tayo ng konti. Let's talk about impeachment naman.
sa impeachment.
Oo, yung impeachment complaint against VP Sara Duterte has been declared, at least one or two of them have been declared sufficient in form. We have details from News 5 correspondent Marian Enriquez, who joins us now. Marian, ano nangyari dyan?
Yes, Bog, tama ka nga, idineklarang sufficient in form yung dalawa dun sa 4 na impeachment complaints laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Yan nga yung 3rd at 4th impeachment complaint na inihain ng ilang religious leaders at grupo ng mga abogado. Ibig sabihin po, itong dalawang reklamo na lang yung uusad sa mga deliberasyon ng impeachment laban sa bise. Inihain nga yung 3rd complaint noong February 9 habang February 18 naman yung 4th complaint. Pareho umunong pasok yung mga date na ito pagkatapos nga mag-lapse yung 1-year ban. Sa pagtukay kasi, Bok, ng sufficiency informed ngayong araw, bukod doon sa pirmado ng complainants, verified, may notaryo at may endorsement mula sa kongresista, isinaalang-alang din kung sumunod o nag-comply ba sa 1-year bar rule ang mga ito. Matatandaan sa unang desisyon ng Korte Suprema, dineklarang unconstitutional yung impeachment ni VP Sara noong nakaraang taon. Sinabi sa February 6, 2026 na dapat maaaring may magain muli ng panibagong reklamo laban sa bise. Pero February 2 nang ihain yung unang impeachment complaint ng Grupong Bayan at Makabayan Bloc. Kaya nagmosyon si Committee Vice Chair Keith Flores na iset aside o isang tabi na nga yung unang reklamo. Pero git niya, Teachers Party Representative Antonio Tino, base doon sa desisyon ng SC sa motion for reconsideration, lumalabas na sa January 15, maaari nang maghain ng bagong reklamo dahil deemed initiated yung mga complaint ng hindi aksyonan ng Secretary General ng mga ito at nagbago nga yung definisyon ng Korte Suprema sa session days. Git nga ni Tino, ang hamon daw niya dun sa mga kapwa niya mamabatas, huwag daw matakot sa sarili nilang anino. Panghawakan daw nila yung sarili nilang rules on House ng impeachment. Sagot naman dyan ni Congressman Joel Chua, hindi naman daw dapat sila natatakot. They were just trying to exercise circumspection. Gusto lang daw nilang mag-ingat. Ganoon naman daw kasi yung mangyayari, baka what happened in the last impeachment complaint, kung maalala po nga ninyo, nung nakaraang taon, sabi niya, baka mamaya, wala na naman po mangyari dito by sheer technicality. Ending, pinagbotohan yung motion, 22 yung bumotong pabor at 10 yung tumutol para isang tabi nga yung ng komite yung unang reklamo. Ibig sabihin hindi na isasama yung first impeachment complaint sa proceedings at dismayado yung Makabayan Bloc, pero gate nila lalahok pa rin sila sa mga deliberasyon sa pagpapanagot kay VP Sara. Samantala nga kanina umaga formal nga binawi ng ikalawang grupo naman sa pangunguna ng Tindig Pilipinas yung kanilang reklamo. Bukod nga doon sa sulat ay personal na humarap at nanumpa pa sina Kiko Aquino D sa komite para nga kumpirmahin yung kanilang pag-withdraw. Ginit ng ikalawang grupo na susuportahan nila yung third complaint na pareho lang naman din daw yung laman o yung grounds at allegations laban sa bise. Ito rin daw ay para pabilis na nga yung proseso. Matatandaan din February 2 din po ito hinain ng Tindig Pilipinas itong kanilang second impeachment complaint. Samantala, suportado naman ng endorsers na sina ML Party Representative Villar Land at Akbayan Representative Percy Sandanya yung aksyon ito at inaprubahan ng komite. Samantala, dahil nga dalawa na lang yung tatalakayin, inaasahan nga ayon mismo kay Justice Committee Chairperson Jervil Luisro, bukas uumpisahan yung pagtingin doon sa sufficiency in substance. So inaasahan daw magiging mas mabilis yung deliberasyon kung hindi na nga kasi apat yung bubusisiin nila. At titignan nila bukas kung yung mga aligasyon ng dalawang reklamo ay indeed impeachable offense. Kapag na-determine na nga yung sufficiency in substance, mga reklamo ay maaari nang umusad para pagbotohan naman kung may probable cause ang mga ito. Yan muna ang latest. Balik sa inyo.
Mhm. Bok, sorry. So yung ano kasi yung insufficiency in form medyo pro forma na lang naman yan eh. You just tick the boxes to see if they're in or not eh. Yung sufficiency in substance, can you remind us again what exactly they're looking for? Kung whether yung articles of impeachment I suppose pasok doon sa mga grounds for impeachment na nasa konstitusyon, tama ba?
Tama ka dyan, Bok. Doon titingnan nila, liliwanagin kung yung bawat allegation na nilatag sa isa reklamo ay pasok sa impeachable offense. Kasi kung maalala po ninyo, 6 lang yung laman ng konstitusyon na impeachable offense. Nandiyan nga yung betrayal of public trust, culpable violation of the Constitution, bribery, meron pa dyan yung graft and corruption, I think meron treason, at saka yung, meron pa bang, ano pa ba yung hindi ko nababanggit? Betrayal of public trust, so sabi ko na ba?
Yeah.
Culpable violation of the Constitution.
Tama ka, Reg. Kasama rin yun doon.
Marian, may nawala ba? Kasi sabi mo halos pareho naman eh. Yung sa pagtanggal ng 1 and 2, meron bang nawalang points dyan sa matitira sa 3 and 4? Saka retained yung yung involving Madriaga's testimony. Ano yung pagkakaiba kung sakasakali? Wala namang nawala.
Tama ka dyan. Ang nakita natin, lahat kasi halos pareho yung third at saka fourth. Kumpleto siya, pareho-pareho din ng mga inilatag ng first and second. Pero kung mapapansin lang natin, doon sa first kasi puro betrayal of public trust, doon sila nakasentro. Doon sa third and fourth, doon inisa-isa nila kung graft and corruption ito, kung culpable violation of the Constitution. So, pero lahat ng mga allegations mula doon sa pagbabanta ni VP Sara sa buhay ni Pangulong Marcos, hanggang doon sa mga questionabling pangalan, kung sino mga nakatanggap ng confidential funds, yung pagwawaldas umano ng bise sa 612.5 million pesos, lahat po yung nakalatag doon hanggang pati po yung affidavit nung umano'y bagman ni VP Sara na si Ramil Madriaga. So, lahat po yun yung third saka fourth complaint. Actually, pare-pareho po silang lahat meron nung Madriaga affidavit.
Okay.
Saka yung endorsed ng Lakas CMD is the third complaint?
Ang endorsed ng actually hindi particularly ng Lakas CMD pero isa sa mga miyembro ng Lakas CMD na si Deputy Speaker Paulo Ortega, isa sa mga House leaders, yung fourth impeachment complaint. Kasama nga po doon na nag-endorso, si Human Rights Committee Chair Benny Abante.
Yes. Bok, I do remember yung sinasabi mo, yung decision ng Supreme Court dun sa motion for reconsideration. The Supreme Court did say na yung bagsak ng 10th session day would be January 14 ata or 13. So meaning yun dapat
14.
yung simula ng 1-year bar. Which actually is an amendment of their first decision. But anyways, let's not go there anymore.
But they can change their minds.
They did.
Yun yung argument. Yan yung argument nila, Tilio, no? January 14, hanggang doon lang dapat. Kung January 15 onwards, pwede na dapat mag-file.
On the other hand, they could have waited for 4 more days na lang before they filed. Instead of February 2, they could have filed February 6. Well, anyway,
pero maganda rin yung punto ni Chua na sinasabi niya na baka matira na naman o madadali na naman sa technicality. Masasayang lang ulit yung kanilang proseso.
Pero sa huli, i-consolidate naman yan, di ba?
That's the idea.
Sa huli, i-consolidate ng committee yan kung sakali if they do move beyond the finding of sufficiency in substance, then they start consolidating, meaning they pick, tama ba? They pick arguments and articles from the impeachment complaints they're considering and put it together as into one complaint. Do I get it right?
Tama ka, Doc. Pagkatapos nga, kung yung dalawang reklamo, sufficient in substance, so usad dyan para tignan yung probable cause. Tapos doon na bubuo ng articles of impeachment. Pero bago yun, syempre, magkakaroon pa ng panahon para bigyan ng pagkakataon mag-reply, sumagot yung kampo ng respondent, si VP Sara, gayon din yung mga complainants. Siguro alam mo kung ano yung ginawa nila kanina doon sa doon sa unang reklamo, bakit na inalis na lang nila. Kasi baka nga naman, pag inihalo yun dito sa dalawang okay naman, yung pasok sa February 6, matitira na naman, madadali nga doon sa technicality. At pag yun yung binuo, binuo at isinama siya, mawawala talaga, mababaliwala yung buong impeachment complaint kasi inihalo na siya doon sa dalawa na, alam mo na, mukhang pasok na pasok naman talaga doon sa 1-year bar na nag-lapse na. So yun yung iniiwasan talaga nila.
Okay, timelines. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, timelines. And secondly, Marian, I wonder, slightly off topic, I wonder if you've heard anything more after yung NUP said that they will probably let their members, do a conscience vote. So hindi daw sila magdidictate on how they might vote on this impeachment. And then also, of course, the timelines that we can expect.
Actually, wala man na tayong narinig, again, mula doon sa National Unity Party, kung meron pa nga ba silang panibagong statement o pahayag tungkol doon. Pero kanina medyo malaman yung mga mensahe ni yung isa sa mga endorsers, si ML Party List Representative Villar Lima. Kasi kung maalala niyo po, yung NUP, sinabi nga nila na kung walang new and compelling evidence, hindi nila most likely susuportahan yung impeachment laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero ito si De Lima kanina, sinabi niya na may malakas na ebidensya laban sa bise. Hindi nga gaya nung sinasabi ng ilan na kailangan pa ng smoking gun, o bago nga compelling evidence para suportahan. Sinabi ni Leila, ito I just wanna quote her, sabi lang niya na yung numerous sinasabi niya yung video containing the Vice President's threat to kill the President, the First Lady, and then the House Speaker, as well as the media interview where she affirmed it, is a smoking gun. Yung numerous documents, evidence ng payments or debts ng fictitious names are smoking guns. Sinabi niyan, kung wala namang doon na bago doon sa mga facts sa batas, anong dahilan para magbago yung paninindigan? Dagdag pa niya, if we found the allegations sufficient before by transmitting the articles of impeachment to the Senate, then consistency and principle conviction demand that we uphold what this House had firmly decided on before. Hindi maaaring mag-iba yung ating pasya kung hindi naman nakabago yung ebidensya. Yun yung pinupunto niya. Our oath is to the Constitution, not to political convenience. Our loyalty should be to the Filipino people, not to the partisan interests. So yun, medyo malaman yung sinasabi.
Okay. Pero Bok, balikan ko yung timeline. So kung bukas ang simula ng consideration for sufficiency in substance, how long is that supposed to go? How long do you expect that to go? And so on down the line. Do they have any timeline in mind?
Bukang tinitingnan natin kung pagbabasehan din natin kung paano tinakal ng Committee on Justice yung BBM impeachment. Isang araw, isang complaint. So bukas, inaasahan natin na dahil dalawa na nga lang, inaasahan natin na yung third impeachment complaint, ito yung mga grupo ng lawyers and religious leaders, yun yung isasalang. Isang buong araw yan, bubusisiin yung sufficiency in substance. Tapos sa Wednesday, itutuloy naman yan para talakayin yung sufficiency in substance no fourth, o yun ng House leader na naghain nito, si Nababante at saka si Ortega. So, inaasahan din natin na Wednesday afternoon, maaari doon din sila magbotohan kung sufficient in substance nga itong dalawang reklamo. Katulad kung paano yung ginawa dun sa BBM complaint. And then, kung lumusot nga, yun sinasabi natin kanina, na bibigyan na ng pagkakataon na sumagot si VP Sara, yung kanyang kampo, magpapadala ng within 10 session days or 10 calendar days, and then bibigyan naman ng 3 calendar days yung complainants para naman mag-reply. Tapos, pagka sumagot na sila or natanggap na ng komite, saka na uumpisahan yung paggulong ng pagdinig. Ayun na yung hearing proper. Iimbitahan na yung mga complainant, witnesses, even the respondents, si VP Sara. Tapos, dyan na yung maglalabas na ng mga testigo, dyan na mag-i-examine lahat kung sino-sino yung mga ipapakita nilang anong testigo, ebidensya, dyan na maglalabasan.
So,
Marian, tuloy-tuloy yan. Walang Holy Week break. Lapit-lapit na yung congressional break for the Holy Week
Yan nga yung tinitingnan natin. Actually, we even asked Chair Luis Rob before last week nung inumpisahan na nga i-refer to sa kanila. Sinabi niya na they're inclined na magkaroon pa rin ng pagdinig even during their recess or nung break, congressional break. So, mukhang tuloy-tuloy natin makikita yung pagdinig dito sa House Committee on Justice. Wala silang break, wala silang holiday o pahinga. Pero syempre yung Holy Week meron.
Okay.
We'll leave that there. Thank you so much for your reporting. News 5 correspondent Marian Enriquez reporting to us live from the lower house. Okay, you're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay, still with us, Amy Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. Citing the one-year bar rule, the House Committee on Justice voted 22-10 to set aside the first impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. We're joined now by ACT Teachers Party List Representative Congressman Antonio Tino. Welcome back to Storycon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon po sa inyo. Thank you for having me here.
Good
Hi,
afternoon, sir.
Congressman.
Sir, paano yun? Yung unang yung unang impeachment complaint, yung sa inyo pa, ang natigbok.
Tama.
That's based on the first decision by the Supreme Court in July or August last year.
Oh.
Pero nga, if you read the MR decision last month, noong January, para namang pasok kayo.
Tama nga. Well, ikaw na rin mismo nagsabi, yung basis nung pag-set aside ay yung first decision. No? Fine, pero meron namang second decision, di ba? At essentially, the second decision reversed everything with regard to the first ruling. So anyway, ang point dito, dismayado tayo kasi mukhang hindi natuto ang House from the experience last Congress at hindi pa rin silang hahawakan. The House is still failing to take ownership of its own rules and its own constitutional mandate as the sole institution responsible for impeachment. No? At habang hindi ginagawa yan ng House, ay lagit-lagi pwedeng merong tumakbo sa Supreme Court para questionin ang rules ng House.
Mm.
And as we have seen in the previous Congress, that is enough to derail impeachment. No? At yun ang fear natin na because of this, effectively, magiging toothless na, magiging meaningless ang impeachment. As means for holding high officials accountable because at any time, ay pwedeng tumakbo sa Supreme Court right now because of what happened earlier. I can think of any number of reasons already for questioning the proceedings. No? Kaya nga may separation of powers at binibigay sa Kongreso, specifically sa House, yung exclusive authority over impeachment, including the authority to make its own rules and implement its own rules. No? Para hindi ito mapakialaman ng Supreme Court. Remember, the Supreme Court justices themselves are impeachable officials. So, it would not be a far-fetched scenario for a Supreme Court justice or the Supreme Court to thwart impeachment by promulgating a new set of rules midstream, kumbaga, no? Katulad nung nangyari last year. So, yan po ang problema natin.
I guess what the Justice Committee is also trying to avoid, because it's kind of a damn if you do, damn if you don't situation, Congressman. If they don't abide by that Supreme Court decision, maka-question din sila. And I guess Congressman Luister was telling us that, okay, there's a way to move on from here, which is they can craft the rules still respecting that Supreme Court decision, the January decision.
Oh, well, but my point is, no, kung sa tingin nila may naiwasan silang kaso rito sa Supreme Court, marami namang iba pa na pwede pa rin idulog sa Supreme Court. No, so the solution really is for the House to assert that it is a co-equal branch and that it makes the rules on impeachment. Na dapat hindi makialam ang Supreme Court dito. Sa ganung paraan lang, matutuloy ang impeachment bilang isang accountability process. No? Mark my words, no? Kahit magtuloy-tuloy itong impeachment na ito, ay tatakbo ang vice-presidente sa Supreme Court para questionin kung ano man ang kalabasan ng prosesong ito.
Pero ano kaya yung question dyan ni Vice President? Kasi yun ang sinasabi nila, yung sila Jerville, na para lang siguraduhin nga na wala nang magke-question kung sakasakali. Kung i-consolidate man yung complaints na yan, at least hindi na daw sila matcha-challenge. Parang ganun yung takbo ng reasoning nila eh.
Well,
Anong point pa kaya ang
ibigay
ma-raise dyan
mo
kung sakasakali?
Ibigay mo sa sino bang abogado yan ay mahahanap na, for example, off the top of my head, I can say na kung ang pagtingin nila ay yung filing namin ng impeachment complaint on February 2 already commenced an impeachment proceeding in violation of the one-year bar, then I could argue na well, whether or not i-set aside or i-withdraw yung complaint, the process has already been commenced or initiated. So, in other words, pwede kong erase yun. Sabihin ko, dapat moot na yung proceeding na yan. No? Kasi, dapat void na pala yung proceeding na yan. Kasi, withdrawing or setting aside a complaint will not cure or erase the fact that a proceeding has already been commenced, to use the words that were being cited in the hearing. So, yun ang point ko, hindi pwedeng kumilos ang committee, hindi magagampanan ng Committee on Justice yung kanyang solemn constitutional duty on impeachment if the committee is afraid of its own shadow and acts, in a way that it must anticipate every possible legal challenge. That's impossible. No? So kaya nga sabi, ang tama ay magproposisyon ang Kongreso na rules of impeachment, kami ang nagtatakda. No? Kami magde-decide. Kapag sinabi namin valid ito, pasok sa rules, then yun. Hindi na pwedeng questionin ng Supreme Court. And they proceed accordingly. The House proceeds accordingly.
Yes, sir.
That's the only way that an impeachment proceeding can really go on without any further interference from, say, the court. No.
So, sir, what are you looking at? A possible resolution from the lower chamber affirming its position that it has a sole jurisdiction authority on impeachment and setting impeachment rules, or what about drafting a new set of impeachment rules? Kasi the last one, the 19th Congress rules, are a throwback to the 15th Congress pa.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the rules. No, and even the original Duterte versus House of Representatives decision, that would have upended these rules, di ba? Going so far as to make the fast-track mode really not a fast-track mode. Pero inatasan yung lahat ng Supreme Court sa kanilang ruling on the motion for reconsideration. At ang binago na lang nila yung interpretation nila ng session days as against calendar days. No? That's all we're left with. Okay? At yun, madali namang ma-accommodate within the existing rules. No? So, the solution is not that the House changes its rules every time there's a new ruling by the Supreme Court. Wala. As I said, wala pong mangyayari dyan. No? Kaya dapat, once and for all, pumosisyon ng House. No, na ito ang rules namin at magtutuloy ang impeachment according to our rules and our interpretation of the rules, and so should the Senate. No? And now, if the Supreme Court positions that they can make rules, change the rules in the middle of the game, and so on, then they risk a constitutional crisis na hindi dapat. Diba? So dapat i-respeto yung separation of powers. That's the only way impeachment can become an effective accountability measure.
Okay. Congressman, yung mga points raised in the third and fourth impeachment complaints, pareho naman dun sa mga points din na ni-raise nyo, no? Yung mga articles of impeachment. Wala namang substantial na pagbabago sa mga charges.
Wala naman. In fact, may mga ni-raise doon sa ibang complaints na wala sa ating complaint.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's why, even though dismayado tayo na sinet aside yung complaint natin, we will still continue to participate in the impeachment proceedings kasi meron pa yung dalawang complaints at for the most part, we believe that may sufficient basis, malakas pa rin yung malakas yung mga complaints na ito. But that's not the issue that we're concerned with. It's that because of what happened, nothing will stop the Vice President from again going to the Supreme Court to raise yet another issue regarding rules to thwart an impeachment trial. Ganun po. So, problema nating lahat yun. Diba?
Pero on the other hand, kahit naman natuloy kahit pinatuloy pa rin yung complaint ninyo, meron ding mga nag-aalala nga na baka nga i-challenge din ni Vice President before the Supreme Court again.
Well, that's why kami, ang gusto namin ay pumosisyon ng malakas ang Kongreso, both the House and the Senate, na amin to pag-impeachment. We decide, we make the rules, we decide on the rules, Supreme Court should stay out of it. Ganun ang kailangan natin. Otherwise, lagit-lagi, every time na impeachment, you know, it will boil down to an absurd debate on February 2 ba dapat o February 6?
Yes.
No? Oh. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, we will leave that there. Thank you so much for talking to us on Storycon. ACT Teachers Party List Representative Congressman Antonio Tino.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Congressman.
Good afternoon. Okay.
And we are on until 5:30 p.m. Today. Well, and every day. Storycon will be right back after a quick break. Please stay tuned.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
Welcome back to Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao, and still with us, of course, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
Did you forget your name for a second?
Alam mo, sabi ka pa iba eh.
Tawa-tawa pa tayo. War is already broken out.
Actually, the big question a lot of people is, how far is this going to go?
Well, million-dollar question, if not the billion-dollar question. If you have both sides digging in and saying we're not going to negotiate, this is they've crossed the Rubicon, ito na yun, then
We did have we did have fighting between or among those three countries last year pa.
The tensions were always there, simmering.
But this one kasi it was a decapitation strike eh.
And the problem is that
that's a big difference, I suppose.
the problem, remember as well, is that they were talking, they were in negotiations. In fact, Oman was countries like Oman and Saudi Arabia were mediating between the U.S. and Iran, and this strike has certainly caught a lot of people, if not everyone in the world, by surprise. Because they were talking, there were ongoing dialogues. Okay.
Okay. And also joining us this afternoon is the former Dean of the UP Asian Center, Dr. Henelito Sevilla Jr. Dr. Sevilla is an international relations and Middle Eastern studies expert. Sir, magandang hapon and welcome to the Story Conference or Storycon.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Sir,
Sana'y okay yung aking boses sa inyo.
Medyo mahina.
medyo mahina lang, sir. Baka pwedeng pataas ng
Medyo
konti yung
mahina yung
inyong
volume.
microphone.
What about now?
Hindi pa. Konti pa.
Ayan. But
Ayan si sir, nagpalit ng headset.
Okay.
okay, whilst he's fixing that, you're right. The question is, how will this end? And as we've seen in previous wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, what will happen to Iran after this? Again, if the goal is regime change.
Sir, magandang hapon. Can you hear us now?
change na.
He's back.
Yes po.
There. I think that's better,
Go ahead.
Ami.
Go ahead.
Ami, is that better for you?
Slight improvement.
Okay.
Pwede na.
I'm
Yes,
so
sir.
sorry. I'm in the province.
Ayan na, okay na, okay
but
na.
thank you, sir. But thank you. We appreciate your coming.
Ayun na, okay na.
Sir, nag-uusap kami kanina. I suppose the
Ayun,
question in
lumakas
everybody's
na.
mind is how much further is this going to go? Of course, we had fighting from the same three countries last year, pero this time super escalation kasi you had the decapitation.
UAE.
You had decapitation of the leadership of Iran, tapos you also have Iran firing rockets into other Gulf states as well. So, question in a lot of people's minds is this going to escalate further and by how much?
I am not affirmative that the conflict will end soon. I think it will escalate further for as long. You heard recently that President Trump has just mentioned that he will do something else, because of the killings or the death of the three American
The Americans.
servicemen. So we expect that the escalations will further, and from the Iranian side, for as long as it is not satisfied with what it is doing now, targeting the American interests within the Middle East region. I think the question about when it will end is so far as of now unanswerable.
Ang inapak, Professor, are the US bases in the Gulf. Siyempre, magre-retaliate yan. Although si Trump, meron siyang record na naglo-launch ng operation ng mga short-lived, no? High impact, short-lived. So kung gano'n we're expecting retaliation from the US dahil nga yung mga bases nila binobomba. Kapag gano'n, ano yung projection niya? What might happen? Well, first of all, sa Iran and for the rest of the region.
Well, ang mahalaga dito kung ano yung magiging respond ng mga Arab countries na kung saan
Yes.
ang US interest ay nakabase doon, no? In response to the sending of missiles of the Iranian government to these US facilities, because for them this is something that encroaches their sovereignty. Pero from the Iranian perspective, they said that these US facilities are part of the American diplomatic immunity, and it's not considered as a territory of those countries because this is covered by diplomatic immunity. This is the position of the Iranian government. However, I think there are the Arab countries are now calling for a meeting in which they would discuss how to respond to this escalation. So I'm sure that Arab countries, particularly those that are allied of the U.S., will respond. But as to what extent and into what form they will respond, is still unthinkable until now. But military response probably. But I think there is also what we call the backdoor diplomacy, negotiation between and among themselves on how to settle this issue.
On the point about them hitting the U.S. bases, but actually there were other civilian targets rin. They struck the airports. There was a time when Saudi Arabia didn't think that Iran would hit them, but they have at this point. There was that strike on that tinamaan yung Burj Al Arab, and it feels at this point that they have been pushed to the edge, essentially at this point. What do you think? Is there still any... Because when you listen to the rhetoric of both sides, the U.S. is also saying, we are willing to do everything we can to see this through. And then you have also on the side of Iran saying that they will fight till the end. And what the end means, we don't know at this point. But you've been following the Middle East for a long time. How do you think it might play out?
Nakakalungkot isipin na ang mga civilians are biktima rin sa ganitong pagsalakay. We need to understand also that prior to Iran respond, the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran also decapitated or targeted one school in Minab in the southern part of the province of Khuzestan province, which led to the killings of 100 plus pupils. So the civilians were actually have actually become the yung parang collateral damage, and this is not supposed to be. The civilians should be protected. Now, I'm not saying that these Iranian targets to US utilities or facilities in these countries will 100% target those facilities. There will be some sort of parang mga mishap na kung saan ang mga civilians mismo na nakatira doon malapit sa area na yon ay magiging collateral rin sa and this is very unacceptable, no? So both sides, the US and Israeli attack on Iran resulted into this killing. Both sides, I think, need to answer why human beings, civilians, non-combatants are supposed to be part of this, as a collateral damage dito sa gerang ito.
Sir, we understand it was a decapitation strike. Marami dun sa top leadership ng Iran tinamaan dun sa initial strikes. Well, that's one thing altogether. But of course, the bigger question would be, sinong ipapalit o sinong papalit? Are we? What's the likelihood that you will get somebody more moderate or even more conservative than the one that they are replacing? What do you foresee po?
Yeah, I'm not sure about whether or not the next supreme leader of Iran would be moderate or conservative, but we just follow what the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Iran says, that during the, pag namatay yung supreme leader, constitutional process will follow, no? And that means that the assembly of experts, which is composed of 88 members, will actually appoint or elect who would be the next supreme leader. And as of now, I tried to browse before I joined this room. No, nakikita ko na they have already chosen an interim supreme leader in the person of Ayatollah Ali Riza Arafi. No, and he is a senior Iranian cleric. And besides, during the time where they have not finally chosen the supreme leader, the process would be that the three important political figures in Iran, the president, the head of the judiciary, and the representative of the assembly of experts, a guardian council, will be the one, coordinating, collaborating with each other to manage the affairs of the state. So this is in spite of the, decapitation that happened during the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran. So do we expect some sort of what we call problem here? I think not, because they have already in their mind who would be the next supreme leader. It's just a matter of formalizing, and debating probably within the assembly of experts who would be the next supreme leader of Iran.
And can you tell us more about the interim, yung interim supreme leader na napili? Can you tell us more about the political inclinations, is he a moderate or kapareho din ng Khamenei?
Yeah, based on the record, he is a Shiite cleric. I am not sure if he is
Yes.
moderate or not, but he is he belongs to the family of cleric, and he is from Yazd province.
Yes.
He was born 1959, and he is considered to be probably the alter ego or representative of Ayatollah Khomeini in many of the affairs that Ayatollah Khomeini could not or would not be able to attain. So he represents the former supreme leader, and. Yeah. I'm not sure whether he is a conservative or moderate or what, because I just heard his name just a few days ago.
Sir, I guess the conflict will be if the U.S. Because the U.S. has its own ideas about who should now govern Iran, right? And initially, President Trump did not, in his video announcing the strike, he didn't say that the goal was regime change, but later on, he admitted to the reporters that the goal was regime change, and of course they're trying to cripple Iran's ballistic missile and nuclear program. So I guess the conflict there is if hindi sila sasang-ayon sa bagong supreme leader that Iran has chosen, that the council has chosen, what then?
I think it's very clear from the very beginning that the Trump administration doesn't like the theocratic government in Iran, no, and they want regime change, and this is not something new for us because for the past 4 decades, the U.S. government in different administrations really pursued this kind of regime change activities to decapitate the Iranian Islamic government, no, and this is the ultimate goal, no, because they want that a president or the one who is managing the country should be somewhat pro-West or
pro-Western,
pro-American
yeah.
in that sense. Yeah. So the question is whether or not if the Trump administration would not like the one who is elected, then what would happen? Then siguro antabayan natin kung anong gagawin ni Trump. But marami na po ang namatay at the damage has been there already, and that will continue until de-escalation will take place between and among these parties.
Just to be clear.
Well, is there...
Good, Ami.
Yeah, is there any chance anyway? Kasi kasama dyan, of course, is a major factor is Israel. And for the longest time, ang impression ng mga tao is isang objective ng Iran is to annihilate the Jewish state. Meron bang pagbabago in that kind of, meron bang pagbabago within the population ng Iran? Kasi of course, the government represents the people. Meron bang pagbabago dun sa ganong pag-iisip within Iran, kung sakasakali man?
It is not true that the Iranian would want to annihilate or exterminate the Jewish population in Iran, where in fact...
Meron ganong impression from Israel na yung government ng Iran, which is representing the people, yun ang gustong gawin. Pero,
well, in fact, if you go to Iran, the constitution recognize the representation of the Jewish community within the country, and they form part of an integral, part of the Iranian society. But I think our analysis should focus on whether or not Iran likes the Israeli as a political, entity. Because Iran said that the Israel is a Zionist regime, and Iran tries to separate it from the religious aspect, which is Judaism, because Iran respects Judaism. So this is something that the world has not been able to comprehend it well, deeply. I think there is a difference between what Iran said Zionism and what Iran said Judaism. So this thing. So I think to say that Iran wants to annihilate or to exterminate or to remove this Judaism or the Jewish faith, I think is incorrect. Where in fact the Jewish Iranians are living freely in Iran. I don't know. That's my opinion because I've been in contact with them when I was a student in Iran during those times, no, and I know that they have also representation in the Iranian parliament.
Sir, let's talk about the impact on the Philippines. Immediately there are two issues that come to mind. Number one, of course, our heavy reliance on the Middle East crude oil. When it comes to crude, yung raw, unprocessed oil, nearly 100% of that we import from the Middle East, specifically Saudi, UAE, Kuwait, Oman, etc. And then the second issue is, of course, the OFWs. There's about 40, by some estimates, according to BPI, for example, at least 40% of the OFWs are based in the Middle East. Talk us through that. Alin dito yung, what are you most worried about here?
Well, I'm most worried about both of them. Of course, there is a direct implications of the closure of this Hormuz Canal, the Strait of Hormuz, by the Iranian Islamic Government Revolutionary Guard. If you heard from the news that you know that you would know that Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz already, and this was the topic that we had before, no, when we had this kind of interview during the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. And finally, Iran has closed this Strait of Hormuz. I also heard that Iran is allowing, with some sort of limited mobility, Chinese missile in those areas. But the closure of the Strait of Hormuz would basically create some sort of volatility in terms of oil prices in the global market. And the Philippines, as you made mention, is so much dependent from the importation of crude oil from the Gulf. Of course, we also import finished product, gasoline or finished petroleum product from the Plat of Mines in Singapore. But mostly our crude oil is actually imported from the GCC. With the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, we expect that there will be an implication with regards to the stability of prices of oil in the Philippines and of course in the global market. Now, how would it impact the Philippines? Well, it would impact basic commodities because many of them are being transported and that requires oil. And of course, basic commodities and services. And once the oil price goes up, then the ordinary people, the ordinary Filipinos would be affected. No, the purchasing power of Filipinos with regards to buying basic commodities that are being impacted by the oil prices. So I checked also the price of oil in the global market. Brent mentioned that prior to the attack, the price was below 70 or around 70. Now the price is about 80 plus, and we expect that the price of oil in the coming days will rise maybe to 190 to $100 per barrel.
Sir.
So with regards to OFW, I think the scope of the war is not just confined within the bilateral countries between Israel and Iran. So since Iran is sending missiles to different countries within the GCC region, then the implication would be the danger that the safety of our Filipinos living in those areas. No, and we are talking about thousands of Filipinos here because these GCC countries, particularly Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, and even Kuwait, are hosting a large number of Filipino workers.
Sir, kabilang ako, sir. I find it really interesting when you mentioned kanina yung government structure ng Iran. You have the supreme leader, you have the president, you have the assembly of experts. Of course, Filipinos are not familiar with that. We're only familiar with presidente, vice presidente, Kongreso, Korte Suprema. Can you quickly run us through that? Who holds what power? I understand that the supreme leader is more powerful than the president and can even dismiss the president.
Yes.
Yeah, the supreme power, the supreme leader is most powerful than the president. It has the power to determine strategic and critical aspects of the Iranian life, Iranian operation. The president would more or less respond to socio-economic aspect, but with regards to security, foreign policy, and other things, the supreme leader holds that power. And then you have the assembly of experts. They are actually elected every 8 years, I think, and they comprise of 88 members, and they are the one electing the supreme leader, and they can also remove the supreme leader. But so far, from 1979 until this time, there were only two supreme leaders, and now we will have the third one. Now there is another one, the guardian of council, which is responsible uh, 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 of appointing, I think, representatives to the three to the interim government, no, to the transition. And the guardian of council is considered to be the watchdog of the Iranian constitution. So they determine the make sure that the constitution is fully and concretely implemented. And then there is another one, the expediency council. So these structures are actually complex. If you don't understand this, if you don't have a deeper reading about the Iranian political system, sometimes you may be able to confuse yourself, no, how these structures function and coordinate with each other.
There are institutions, but ultimately it's the supreme leader who holds tremendous power, and to a point where he's almost unchecked. Correct?
So if I may summarize it, there are two political structures: one which is being elected, and the other one which is not being elected. The supreme leader is not elected directly by the people, but they're elected by the assembly of experts.
Para siyang Prime
And
Minister.
the assembly of experts are coming from different, professions.
So parang siyang, in a way, sir, I know it's kind of rough and crude sa comparison, pero parang Prime Minister, the parliamentarians are elected by the people, and the parliamentarians elect their Prime Minister.
More like a
Maybe,
monarch,
but I
guess.
think the Iranian political system is so unique in that sense, now, because the supreme leader need to be a senior scholar, Islamic scholar. So they call it Wilayat al-Faqih, no, Wilayat al-Faqih.
Prof, I read your article that you published a few months ago, titled "The Middle East Crisis: Perspectives from the Philippines." One of your conclusions is that the crisis is a ripe opportunity for forging new alliances and challenging the dominance of Western geopolitical infrastructure. What did you mean by that?
Can you say it again?
Your article from last year on the Middle East crisis, back when there was tensions, there were tensions, but it hasn't blown out into all-out war. You wrote that on the geopolitical front, this is a ripe opportunity for forging new alliances and challenging the dominance of the Western geopolitical infrastructure. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, because if you look at the geopolitical infrastructure of the Middle East region, starting from even before the 1953, where the U.S. Started to have this kind of relationship with the region, it is more or less Western, and the U.S. dominated the geopolitical structure. It establishes an alliance system. But current development in the Middle East is telling us that there may be some possibility of challenging this Western geopolitical structure that exists long time ago in the Middle East region. So from the European influence to the entry of US in the region, now you have China coming into the region, and strategically positioning itself in terms of trade and other activities. No, so this is a kind of structure that I'm talking about.
Who might fill the void, do you think? I mean, tama naman, the U.S. under Trump has been turning more isolationist, right, from being internationalist. They've turned inwards. Now it's all about make America great again, America first. Although, although Trump has bombed 8 countries by now, from a foreign policy perspective, he's made it turn more inward. So who might step into this void?
If you're talking of the possibility of external powers to step in, right? We have seen the development of relations between China and many Arab countries, including Iran. And China has forged comprehensive partnership with Iran and strategic partnerships with other countries in the region. So probably China, but in terms of military support and other, military activities in which the U.S. has done for a long time, China has not been able to demonstrate it until today, except with the economic uh, uh, engagement that China has have with many of these countries in the region. Yet China is also looking at the possibility of safeguarding its interests, particularly in the fluid maritime route in the Horn of Africa, no, in which China in the past, I think, sent some vessels there to secure its interest, no, its vessel that passed through the Horn of Africa. So there is what I observed. There is a defining moment now that that the coming of China to the region and the aggressive economic partnership of China to the region may actually result into somehow political as well as even to the extent of security, because China wanted to secure also this kind of interest that it has in the Middle East region. Remember that China is one of the major importer of oil in the Gulf region as well as in Africa. Since 1993, China started to become a net importer of oil from being a net exporter of oil. And it's not just about oil that we are talking about here. We're also talking about the rare earth materials that China imported from other parts of Northern Africa and other parts of African continent. So it all passes through the Persian Gulf. And this Persian Gulf is very important. That's why for China, I think, and other powers, I think the stability of this particular part of the region must be preserved, because any problem or any security threats may have a direct implications to the products or to the importations that to the trade that they are doing, in that part of the globe.
Okay, we'll leave that there. Thank you so much for joining Storycon and sharing all of your insights, Dr. Henelito Sevilla Jr. Sorry, did I understand correctly? You were no longer the dean of the Asian Center at UP.
I'm no longer the dean now.
Okay.
I'm just enjoying my sabbatical
Okay.
leave for a year.
Okay, so I'll say former dean of the Asian Center at UP Diliman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. Bye-bye.
Sa madaling salita, wala tayong alam kung ano mangyayari.
I'm sorry to say it, Ami, pero si Trump lang ang nakakaalam. I mean, his own...
He himself doesn't even know.
No, but
Sinabi talaga.
alam mo, his own intelligence...
Kung ano
talaga.
lang kung ano lang,
Sutil ka.
kagisingan niya, kung ano
His own
Ano
intelligence
maisip
team...
pagising
His own intelligence team told him that Iran is not anywhere close to building nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
After they bombed...
At least
remember,
that much they know now. Ano?
They bombed 3 locations, uranium enrichment locations in June 2025.
Yeah.
Tapos yung Trump's own intelligence agencies say, no, they're at least 10 years away from building nuclear weapons, from rebuilding everything. But here we are. He called Iran an imminent threat. So,
Does that remind you of the,
Wala pala yung
of
threat.
the invasion of Iraq?
Afghanistan at the
Parang
very
yung sa Iraq, di ba? Sabi
weapons
nila.
of mass destruction.
WMD
same.
ni Saddam.
Yes.
But it's like they...
Even Colin Powell had to apologize for that.
Many
Yeah.
years after. Many years after. I
Because they
don't-
used Colin Powell because he had so much
credibility.
respectability.
Yeah.
He had the credibility.
Wala rin
Walang-
nakita.
Every time they've come in and invaded or bombed the country in the name of regime change, has there been any good examples? I mean, the most recent one that I remember was Afghanistan, which is hardly the beacon of democracy at this point.
Sa Venezuela.
Well, Venezuela is still ongoing as well, which reminds us,
Yeah.
which reminds me, we have not heard about Nicolas
Yeah,
Maduro. He was supposed
Yeah.
to be indicted, and I think he was. Pero after what happens after that, we don't know.
Tahimik ngayon kasi yung umupo doon kausap naman yung talaga nila Trump.
In,
pumalit.
in 1953, the Prime Minister of Iran then was Mohammad Mossadegh. He was ousted with the help of the CIA and MI6 of the British special services because he tried to nationalize Iran's oil industry. So that's how things happened.
No, you mean it wasn't in the name of democracy, bringing democracy to the...
Kailangan mo na ilaw sa kuweba.
Well, you know, at
Hintay na
first...
lang natin yung evacuation. Although, palagay ko, mga Pilipino will not evacuate.
Although
Ilang
the
beses na nagkaroon ng conflict dyan sa Middle East, Iran lang lagi yung umuwi, di ba?
Ay, kasi ang hirap nga nang bumalik tapos wala kang kasiguruhan kung pagbalik mo, nandun pa yung trabaho mo.
Exactly.
Plus ang gastos,
Ang dami
diba?
nakaabang dyan, that's the Middle East.
And also,
One of high-paying jobs.
medyo mahirap lumabas ngayon unless by land kasi yung major
Magbabayland
transportation
nga daw.
hub mo is
Nakalimutan ko yung sinabi sa akin
Dubai.
merong at a certain point pwede daw mag-ano na I forgot kung ano yung spot na tinitingnan ng gobyerno natin. Pero pagdating daw doon, pwede nang mag-flight. I'm not sure dahil ka-announce lang ngayon all Middle East flights from the Philippines to the Middle East
Of course.
suspended, canceled.
Even some that's going to Europe via the Middle
Yeah.
East have been canceled.
Yeah,
And South Asia.
Widespread
If you're going to South Asia,
South
Dubai
Asia.
ang daan mo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the more
Kaya
immediate
nga.
worry for me is the oil price shock, oil price movements, because whether or not there's a shortage yet, the oil markets respond. Yun
Yeah.
yung nakikita natin
Yeah.
because we buy our the oil gets priced in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
And so even if the supply to us doesn't get disrupted, you know, we're susceptible because it gets set international. These prices get set internationally.
Tsaka kahit
Kaya
binili several months
baka
ago
meron
yung
na
lalis
kayong
mo
breaking news
tataas.
dyan dun sa
Tomorrow,
baka may breaking news na kayo dun sa yung
Emergency?
Yung emergency meeting
Wala,
ng DOE.
wala pa, Ami. We were trying to get DOE this afternoon, but yun nga, they were all in
Yeah.
emergency meetings with the oil companies. 6 a.m. tomorrow,
Yeah.
there is a price increase at the petrol stations.
Yes.
Sea Oil, Shell, Caltex,
Bilis, no?
Petrogas, Clean Fuel.
Yeah.
Teka ba't ang bilis? Weekend lang
May
nangyari to.
reserves, may 30-day reserves
Oh.
mandated by the DOE for these oil companies to keep. Pero yun nga,
Baka suspendihin mamayang gabi. Baka yan yung
Internationally.
isa sa mga meeting.
because the prices are moving international already, they respond to it. Binibili
Yeah.
nga sa Singapore, right?
Yeah, that's
So-
the quirky thing about oil prices. It takes so many months for the oil to come here
arrive.
after you buy them at lower prices or old prices. And then biglang magbabago yung presyo.
It is a cartel.
Siya nagsabi.
OPEC is a cartel. Excuse me.
Yeah, I know.
It is. Okay, we'll leave it there.
It is a cartel.
Thank you for joining Storycon today. I'm Iko Mitun, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao, kapatid. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.